It is our pleasure to welcome you to the NIA and NHLBI Entrepreneurship Workshop Series. This one is focused on building your regulatory strategy. Next slide. We have fantastic experts here today for you. I am delighted to welcome Dr. Chris Sasiela. She's the Innovator Support Team Lead at NIHC. We're also joined by Franziska Moeckel. She's the Regulatory and Reimbursement Specialist at NIHC. And Dr. Ben Berman, who's our Medical Device Regulatory Specialist at CDER as well. I'll be your moderator. My name is Monique LaRock-Ashton. So just a quick view on our format. We're going to do a brief overview, but what we really want to have is a dedicated breakout session. So we'll have get to the meat of some of your questions. We have them broken out into 3 breakout rooms: drugs and biologics, therapeutics devices, and laboratory developed tests. Many of you have pre-selected which breakout you would like to be in. And so you will be automatically moved over to that breakout room when we open them up. If you would like to change, we can do that as well. You can chat us and let us know when it's time towards the end of this overview session, and we can help you get into the right room. Next slide. This entrepreneurship series is really designed to help you. We want to help research entrepreneurs and small business owners really understand what are the key components of success in your startup. We have been doing this since the middle of 2021. We're going to continue through 2022 as well. And we are really targeting some of our current awardees, but we also know that there's some folks who are not yet awardees who want to apply to the program. We do have archived workshops that are available on our website. So if you missed one of our sessions, you can go back and view it. And we will be providing, for those who are awardees of NIA and NHLBI, an opportunity to connect one-on-one for more in-depth conversation. And you can meet with our entrepreneurship experts. Next slide. This is an overview of the past workshops we've had. You can see we've covered a wide variety of topics. And we do want to encourage you to please register for the next one that's on December 7th. It's going to be focusing on pitching and promoting the company. Again, you can go to our website and look at past workshop sessions. Next slide. With that, I am honored to present to you Dr. Chris Sasiela.
Good afternoon. I hope everyone has been having a fabulous day, and I'm looking forward to spending the next hour-ish with you. What we're going to do today, if you'll move to the next slide, please, is we have 3 people from the Small Business Education and Entrepreneurial Development Office on the line today who are going to help you understand a couple of things about the regulatory processes related to the technologies, tests, devices, whatever, that you are personally developing through your awards. We're going to try and help you understand where to find information important to helping you guide your product development work from a regulatory or a quality standpoint. We're going to help you understand whether or not FDA will regulate your product development work. Certain diagnostic tests are, and certain diagnostic tests are not regulated by FDA. If your product is going to be regulated by FDA, when do you start talking to them? And if it's not regulated by FDA, well, what other regulations are there? How do you know about them, learn about them, and make sure that you're compliant? Through that conversation, we're hoping that you will gain some clarity on what your company's next regulatory or development steps are. Next slide, please. As you may be aware, the FDA has many centers. However, 3 are primarily focused on biomedical product review. And those are the Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, or CBER, the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, or CDER, and the Center for Devices and Radiologic Health, or CDRH. The approaches to regulation are different for drug and biologic therapies than they are for devices diagnostics, and radiologic health products. And so we will be having two different speakers focused on that. I will be focusing on drug and biologic regulation. Next slide, please. Drug and biologic regulation does happen in CDER and CBER. CDER and CBER oversee the safe development of human small molecule and biologic drugs. Now, what does that mean? The bar for market access is safety and efficacy. So you must demonstrate, if you're developing a new molecular entity or a new biologic, cell therapy, gene therapy product, that your drug is both safe for its intended use. I'm sorry, safe in general and overall human terms, and efficacious for its intended use. And that is something that isn't only determined through clinical development, but it is also built into how the drug is developed and manufactured reproducibly, cleanly, and in a worldwide setting in many cases. Next slide, please. Drug regulation has a couple of key checkpoints along the way. This can be divided into the discovery and optimization, lead discovery, identification and optimization of attaching and impacting a target or a metabolic process of some sort. And then there is preclinical development, which is scaling up of manufacturing and purification processes, finalizing your formulation, testing in animals and larger animals, identifying dose ranges, therapeutic ranges. And then there's clinical development, which in the traditional drug development paradigm, phase 1 is safety, phase 2 is safety and initial efficacy, and phase 3 is confirmatory safety and efficacy. At each of these points, there are interactions that you can and I would say should have with FDA, and those are indicated on this slide. In the breakout room, we're going to jump into a bunch more detail about the timing and content of those interactions and how to prepare for them effectively, and then take the download of information you'll get back from FDA once they're over. So that is our plan for talking about drug and biologic development, and I now hand over the deck and the presentation to Ben.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you everyone for attending the webinar today. I'm really looking forward to shining a little bit of light on the different pathways for medical devices in terms of FDA regulations. So these include therapeutics, these include imaging or sensing products that could be used for screening or monitoring or diagnosis. They could include, they do include in vitro diagnostics as well. They're classified as medical devices. And this also includes software and digital health products, more and more. All of these medical devices are regulated by the Center for Devices and Radiological Health at FDA. And there are three main pathways to get one of these products to market. The first is called Premarket Approval, or PMA. And this is for all new devices and devices that may not be new, but do have a previously established high level of risk. Maybe it's an implant or some type of some other type of high-risk medical device or therapeutic. So for new devices that may not have such a high level of risk, and it's rather have a controllable level of risk, where special controls can be written by companies working with FDA on how to maintain safety for these types of new products, the de novo pathway may apply. And for products that go through de novo, this opens the door for future products that are similar to de novo classified devices to use the 510K pathway. Which brings us to 510K pre-market notification. This is by far the most widely used regulatory pathway to bring medical devices to market. And it's used for devices that have precedent. And also these devices need to have a controllable level of risk. So through the 510K pre-market notification process, you're demonstrating to FDA that your product is substantially equivalent to a previously existing product. That doesn't mean they have to be the exact same and have all the exact same features, but they do need to have the same intended use, and you do need to demonstrate that the technical differences do not, that even with some technical differences, the two products are still substantially equivalent. Great. Could we go to the next slide? Thank you. So those are the three main paths, and we talked about the wide range of products that are covered at CDRH. But where do you really get started when it comes to creating a regulatory strategy? And I think, first here is leveraging the resources that you have available to you, and attending webinars like this is a great first step. When it comes to getting that initial feedback first from FDA, like, where are the materials that are relevant to my product? How can I find, certain things in the database? The CDRH Division of Industry and Consumer Education is an excellent resource. They pick up the phone when you call, they respond to your emails when you have questions for them, and they're a great first point of contact when it comes to reaching out to CDRH, just with those initial questions as you're trying to formulate your strategy. And I mentioned some FDA public databases and guidance documents. The best way to search FDA's website is on Google. So if you type in your product and guidance documents, CDRH, you'll find usually a wealth of information with FDA policies pertaining to your particular type of a medical device. Especially useful there are the decision summaries, and we'll talk more about that in the breakout session. When it comes to making realistic plans for your product, remember that FDA sort of sees your device as having two parts that are always linked: the technology and the intended use. And when you're developing your device, you're in control of both of these things. And so try to think about how this technology may be able to be used for multiple different use cases, which are the lowest risk use cases, which are the highest impact use cases, which are the use cases that are critical to our business, or which are the use cases that maybe are already on the market and we can use as a springboard for other types of later new intended uses down the line. So it's, think about this as you go into your product development, sort of what's the first, fundamental use case? Where do you want to start with this product on the market? And that can be the focus of your first pathway through FDA. And then do the research as well, expected timelines, what type of testing may be relevant. Again, this ties back to the database, which we'll touch more on in the breakout session. So last comment here is that reaching out to FDA when it comes to medical devices is easy to do, and we really encourage it for NIH small businesses to do early in product development so that you can discuss your initial regulatory strategy with them. You can describe the device, you can describe the intended use, you can just say, this is a predicate we envision for our eventual 510K, or, hey, we couldn't find a predicate, does FDA see this as a possible de novo? Something, these are great questions for that initial pre-submission meeting. So again, look forward to seeing some of you in the medical devices breakout Q&A. And with that, I'll hand it over to Franziska to talk a little bit about LDTs.
Thank you so much, Ben. It's a pleasure to be here, and I cannot wait to share some of my experiences developing laboratory developed tests, more on the business side and regulatory side. But before I get into details, I wanted to share a little bit about what laboratory developed tests are. So on the next slide, you see the definition of a laboratory developed test. So a test that is completely designed, manufactured, and performed in a single clinical laboratory. And I put this definition up here because it is important. It's important to understand that an LDT can only be an LDT if it truly is designed and performed within a single clinical laboratory. And I'll talk a little bit about what clinical laboratory means in a moment. Ben described the regulatory pathway for in vitro diagnostics, and LDTs are technically in vitro diagnostics, but Ben talked about those that are under FDA's regulatory oversight. LDTs, on the other hand, continue to be what we call under enforcement discretion. And what does enforcement discretion mean? And it means that even though the FDA technically has the authority to regulate LDTs as medical devices, and in vitro diagnostics has been described fall under medical devices, they decided not to do so for laboratory developed tests and at this time. So just to reiterate, right now, laboratory developed tests are not enforced through FDA under their authority, but that can change at any time. The ballot act or the draft thereof is just an example of that, and I'd be happy to answer any questions pertaining that during the breakout. On the next slide, I just wanted to give you a visual overview of where laboratory developed tests fall under the medical devices and in vitro diagnostics framework. So again, they're technically considered an in vitro diagnostic, but because they're developed in a single laboratory and performed there, they again enjoy what is called FDA enforcement discretion. So FDA still has a part in it, but because they fall under FDA enforcement discretion, it is the clinical laboratory improvement amendments that really play a major role in laboratory developed tests and how they are set up and how they are validated and how they are performed. So what is CLIA? So on the next slide, you can see a couple of definitions that are hopefully helpful pertaining to LDTs and CLIA. So in order to run or perform a laboratory developed test, that test has to be completed in either a CLIA certified or equivalent clinical laboratory. And CLIA has actually three components. So there are three federal agencies that have oversight over CLIA. It is FDA, CMS, and CDC. Let's go from the bottom up. So CDC, amongst other things, gives technical standards and laboratory practice guidelines for CMS, who is then authorizing those certificates, so the CLIA certificate that I was mentioning. So they look at the labs, they perform reviews of the labs and standards, and there's a whole slew of things that a lab has to complete before an LDT laboratory developed test can be offered to patients. And then lastly, FDA, again, it has a part in CLIA as they determine what is called complexity. So there is an FDA CLIA complexity categorization. And just for your knowledge, LDTs are considered high complexity tests. They're also moderate and low complexity tests. So with that, I end and turn it over to the organizers.
Thank you very much. Next slide, please. Just wanted to, again, encourage you to register today for our next workshop series event. It's going to be, again, pitching and promoting the company. We'll also share some information with you via email, as well as our upcoming sessions that are going to be in January and March. Next slide. Please do connect with us. So we'll put in chat. We've seen some of the comments and questions in chat asking us for our website information. And we've seen some additional questions. We are going to tackle some of those in the breakout rooms, but just to answer a few, here are some links to the website that you'll see in chat as well. This is for NIA, and we also have information we'll be sharing with you. Next slide, for NHLBI. Please know that we're sharing this information with you so that you can contact us. The offer to engage with us is sincere. We're here to help you be successful, because when you're successful, hopefully we'll have some new technologies to market that will help have a public benefit. We did want to note again that we're offering one-on-one meeting opportunities for our awardees with our entrepreneurs in residence. If you do not already have an SBIR or SCTR award and are interested in applying, we also can meet with you to discuss whether your idea is a good fit. And we'd be happy to review your aims and an abstract of what you're planning to propose. For those discussions, please email us at the emails you see on your screen. We'll also drop those in chat for you. So now we're going to get into our breakout rooms. We just want to cover a few housekeeping items on that. There are three. Again, drugs and biologics, that's going to be covered by Chris. Therapeutic devices and digital health and in vitro diagnostics with Ben, and laboratory tests with Franziska. With that, we want to thank you, and we're going to be moving into the breakout rooms now.